Young man, take a look at me now.
Hello everybody, welcome to Tour Talk for the week of May 2nd. A lot of exciting things going on. This is going to be a great episode for you. First of all, let's get started with the BASS Central Open at Lake Pickwick. Good fishing throughout the week. A lot of 5 fish limits for the anglers in this event. Congratulations to Joey Nanya, who weighs in 15 fish over 3 days for 58 pounds, 2 ounces. He starts it off with a strong day one, 21 pounds, 11 ounces. Wasn't leading on day one. John Garrett, who finished third in this event, had 21-12. And Brent Crow, who guides on Pickwick, had a 22-11 to start his day one. But throughout the 3 days, Nanya was the most consistent. He weighed in 17-13 on day two, 18-10 on day three for a 3-day total of 58.2. Finishing in second is Lonnie Cochran. He weighed in 18-10, 25.3 on day two. He was leading after 2 days. 25.3 on day two, but he could only come up with 13.5 on day three. His final total for 15 fish, 57.2, just a pound off the lead. John Garrett, as mentioned, finishes third with 56.11, 15 fish, 56.11. Andy Rybar finishes in fourth with 54.9, and Joseph Webster finishes fifth with 15 fish for 52 pounds, 4 ounces. There was also a Southwest Toyota Series event this week at Sam Rayburn. You know, when there's an event at Sam Rayburn, all the hammers come out, and this week was no different. Congratulations to Keith Coombs, who weighs 22.09 on day one, 29.11 on day two, and struggled on day three with only 10.15, but still had enough to win going away. Coombs' 3-day total was for 15 fish, 63 pounds, 3 ounces. Second place was John Benzema, who finishes second, a distant second, 54.09 for 15 fish. Jeff Bridges finishes third with 52 pounds even. Our friend Todd Castledine finishes in fourth with 44.04. And by the way, Todd Castledine sews up his 4th Major League Fishing Toyota Series Angler of the Year title. I don't think anybody else has won 4 Toyota Series Angler of the Year titles. So congratulations to Todd Castledine on that. Finishing 5th, Cameron Madison with 42.07. Coombs had a huge lead after day two. He led by 18 pounds going into the 3rd day. Really stubbed his toe. I mean, sometimes the fish just stop biting. He did manage a limit, but it was a small 10-15 limit. But he still hung on to win by over 9 pounds going away. So congratulations to Keith Coombs. Great win. And again, congratulations to our friend Todd Castledine for finishing 4th in the event, but also securing his 4th Toyota Series Angler of the Year title. Are you wanting to get into the action camera, point of view, cast to catch craze? Check out Tacticam Fisheye. Watch this.
Oh my.
What?
Not a bad one.
A 170-degree standard wide-angle lens. Plug-in option for all-day power. Remote sync with your smartphone. That is so cool, by the way. Waterproof to 30 feet. I don't know if you're ever going to get your Tacticam in 30 feet, but if you do, it's waterproof. Patented interchangeable lens system. All that at a cost about half of what the other guys can do. Tacticam Fisheye, because that fish of a lifetime happens once in a lifetime. Folks, we have a real special guest tonight. Ryan Salzman, Major League Fishing pro, Alabama Bass Guide, joins us on our podcast. Our guest is fishing his 3rd season on the Major League Fishing Big 5 Pro Circuit. He is a regular in the Toyota Series events as well. He has 3 Phoenix Bass Fishing League wins. He's qualified for the Major League Fishing Pro Circuit Tour Championship. His YouTube channel, Alabama Bass Guide, has numerous how-to videos and tournament recaps, and he's currently number 4 in the Bass Tour Anglers podcast Angler of the Year race. Ryan Salzman, welcome to Tour Talk.
Thanks for having me, guys. It's a pleasure to be here.
Let's get to the most important part of the story first. You are currently sitting in 4th place in the Bass Tour Anglers podcast Angler of the Year race. And while you may not know what that is, let me just tell you that it's something that we have started this year because with numerous pro tours that are going to claim that their number 1 is the world champion. Last time I checked, we only live on one planet. So we've got to have a definitive number 1. And so what we do is we look at a bunch of different tours. The Bass Pro Tour is the top of the line, the BASS Elite Series, top of the line. But these guys all fish in different places. They fish Toyota Series, they fish Opens, they fish all over the place. So we're following 63 different events this year and compiling points. And like I said, I think we've got like 3,500 anglers that are part of this whole process. It's pretty cool to look at it and see what's going on out there. Anyway, You're number 4 right now. That's a big deal.
That's kind of crazy to think about, man. And I don't know if my last performance or if you've calculated Pickwick Lake in there yet, but I just had a pretty dismal finish on my home lake and just never put it together, man. And but you have these events, and I'm not upset about it. I know how fishing goes. So there's highs and lows, and you just roll with it, man.
Yeah, I saw that BAS that open event, and I figured that you must have jumped in there because it is a local lake for you, and sometimes that's the worst. But sometimes it's tough to fish those lakes, you know.
Pickwick Lake is my Achilles heel as far as tournaments go. I'm either in the top 15 or I'm usually like middle of the pack. Whether that is 200 boats, I'll be dead center, or if it's 100 boats, I'll be around 50th. And I think it's because I only know how to try and fish to win there because, guide trips are always fishing for big fish. And I've never fished on the lower end on Pickwick. So it was kind of a new lake to me down there. And I got on a cool pattern of fishing pea gravel points with a Carolina rig, which is kind of known for that lake, but I've never done it. And I got on that lake. But I didn't know the potential of that. So I did that day 1 and only had 12.5 pounds. I said, And, fellow guide Brent Crow had 22. Jimmy Mason had 18 something. I'm like, oh my gosh, I made the wrong decision. So day 2, what did I do? I ran up to the dam where I'm very comfortable. And I caught a 5.2 smallie to start the day. I was like, okay, we're going to get the ball rolling. And then never got another bite. But, I don't have regret any decision I made there. So that's all you can hope for.
Well, I think that's what this whole Bass Tour Anglers podcast, Angler of the Year, whatever we're going to call this,
sure.
That's what it's all about. Is not to take anything away from guys that have qualified and deserve to be on the big tours, but this is about the guys that fish bass tournaments, not just one tour, but get out there and fish. And hats off to you for jumping into something. I mean, I don't think you're fishing any more BASS Opens this year, are you?
Yeah, I'm fishing the whole series. So
you are?
Yes, sir.
Oh, the first one was canceled, wasn't it?
That's right. So
okay.
Lake was rescheduled till October. And then the next one, I don't even know where I think it's Oklahoma Lake. I want to say Grand Lake maybe in the fall.
Yeah, I think so. I should know that because it's on our list, but okay. Well,
the fall is a good time. I really enjoy fishing the fall, and that was when I made my first cut, was fishing in the fall. So maybe it'll work out.
Yeah. Well, you're currently 12th in the Toyota Series Central Tour, 11th in the Major League Fishing Big 5 Pro Circuit. You've been busy, and that's why you're in the top 4. I mean, how many is it? Six big events you fished so far this year?
Yes, sir. Well, let's see. Yeah. 6, because we got 2 Toyotas and 3, or is it? I don't know. We got Okeechobee. Yeah, 6. It's hard to keep up, man. So I have a week off. I literally just got back to my house and I have right at 6 days off, but let's not confuse this. They're not really days off. I'm guiding while I'm here at home. on Gunnersville and Pickwick and doing some electronics classes. So I have 2 to 3 days to myself to kind of reset. And then I'm headed to Eufaula this weekend with my roommate Colby Schrumpf, and we're going to do Eufaula. I've never fished there before. It's my first time. So really excited to kind of see how this plays out. I'm an offshore guy, but I've also learned. So last year was kind of a dismal year on tour for me. Like I was ounces outside of checks, only cashed one $10,000 check. And I was just trying to force the issue of doing what I think you should do and just instead of showing up and fishing the moment, which is what I'm good at. And that's all I'm doing different this year.
Well, I think it's pretty interesting because you don't see a whole lot of Major League Fishing guys crossing over to fish the Bass Opens. If you qualify for the elites, would you fish the elites?
I would like the option to consider it. So, let's just say this year they came to Pickwick, they're going to Gunnersville. And so they really like the Tennessee River area.
Yeah.
It's always been a goal of mine to fish the elites. However, especially so this is my first open event. I really love where I'm at right now. Whether I fish the elites next year, which I think I just took myself out of that even statistically, it would be a crazy anomaly to even do it. I would have to win the next 2 and have weird things happen.
Yeah.
But I think I would probably stay with MLF, even if I qualified next year, and to try and do the Bass. Ideally for me in the next 3 years, I would want to be fishing the Bass Pro Tour and the Major League Fishing Pro Circuit. Well,
that was the next thing I was going to say, because this is an especially important year for the Bass Pro, for the Major League Fishing Pro Circuit, because they're taking 10 new anglers into the Bass Pro Tour next year. And right now you're sitting in 11th, and there's 6 guys ahead of you that are already on that tour who are probably going to requalify just because they're going to be, in the top 70 of that tour, right?
Right. And I'm not 100% on this, but I think it's a 2-year average of points. So unless that changes, and I don't know where that, would put me with the 2-year average. Last year, I didn't make it. I was somewhere, I think, in the 70s in points last year, something like that. Maybe I might have jumped up. I didn't make the championship last year. I know that, but I don't know 100% where I finished. So, but the cool thing they're doing this year is if you're in the top 5 at any event, you get invited to a cup.
Right.
So if you can finish in the top 5, that's another opportunity that you just created for yourself to go fish the Bass Pro Tour style event.
Yeah, and they're also taking, I think, a couple, maybe 4 guys from each of the different stages. Matt Becker got to fish the first one, and he's going to get to fish because he just won. He's going to get to fish the fourth stage also.
Yes, sir. Yeah, Matt Becker is definitely a well-deserved win. And then a little insight to that tournament. There was a blueback herring spawn, and it really turned out that a lot of the top guys that were in that top 15 were sharing a lot of the same water. And after the event, the camera guys were just laughing. He was like, dude, you would fish it. Becker would pull in, catch a 4-pounder. And then you come back, you catch a 4-pounder. And it's just really how it shook out. So hats off to him and big congrats.
I'm going to shift gears really fast because you were doing your 2021 boat tour of your Phoenix, and you slipped it in there, just barely slipped it in there. I don't even know if you knew you did it. But you've got a hydrowave device on your boat, and I want to know what you think about that. Anytime I see a guy with a hydrowave, I want to hear what their perspective is on. So you got the mic. Talk about it.
Man, the experiences that I have had on the Tennessee River with the hydrowave guiding are just bar none the coolest things ever. One of my most memorable events, I had the first time I took this client out. It ended up being a long-time repeat client of mine. His name's Jason Thomason. We were fishing. He wanted to learn swim baits, ledges, whatnot. And I was in his boat. He had a hydrowave. And we pull up on this ledge in the evening, and there's a little bit of chasing activity. I was like, dude, I'm going to turn this hydrowave on. Because I was like, I just saw he had it. I put it on feeding frenzy as loud as I could play it. And within 30 seconds, the entire school came up all around the boat.
Oh,
and they were so close to the trolling, but you would just pitch your lure and just got to twitch your bait and catch one.
Oh my God.
And now here's where it gets cool. So that's cool in and of itself. They went back down. We fished. We catch a few on a swim bait while they were down. I said, watch this. Change the sound. Loud as can be. 30 seconds later, they come up again. This happened 3 to 4 times that day, where I would just change the sound and it would ignite them to come up and feed. And I just have countless stories like that. My first experience with it was Canyon Hill. I drew him. So I used to marshal when I was in college.
Canyon, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so Canyon Hill, I don't even know if he's doing it anymore, but super
He's
talented.
out there.
Yep. He's a super talented topwater angler. And we were on Wheeler Lake. He was on Decatur Flats. And I had never seen a guy do this, bombing a spook over the flats, which is actually what we were kind of doing on Murray. Anyways, he had his hydro wave going. And I was asking him kind of what you're asking me is every day it creates 1 or 2 opportunities of one chasing by the boat. When I come by, and I soon 5 minutes later after he said that, 3 or 4 pounder comes up, puts the spook over there, twitch. So if that technology can put 1 more bite in your boat, why wouldn't you do it?
Well, I mean, okay, so what you just got to talking about is really a really gold nugget because, how often every day or every time we're out, do we go through an area and then come back through it with a different lure? Why not come back through it in a different frequency? And, you know what I'm saying? It's pretty good stuff.
Yes. You can really, man, you have to spend a lot of man hours on the water to really dial in knowing what frequency to play at what time of year. But just kind of go with the seasons. If the brim are spawning and you're fishing shallow, put it on brim beds. If you're out there offshore fishing and you're seeing a lot of bait fish, put it on bait fish blitz. Or if you're really not sure, put it on feeding frenzy. That's what I do 90% of the time. And what I figured out, KVD came up with this technology, and I figure he wants to be as efficient as humanly possible. So when he plugs that thing on, he probably wants the best sound to be number 1. So that was what I started out with, which is feeding frenzy. So that's if you don't know where to start out with that.
That's great. That's great information. I mean, the only thing I can really equate that to that I've ever done in my life is coyote hunting and the coyote calls that come out of the box that, the coyote call, the electronic device. But I just like to ask guys that because usually you'll get something. Yeah, I'm pretty sure just gives you more confidence, but you just really.
I'm telling you, man, I could tell you story after story after story. But those are just some of the best ones that I can pull out of my story bank.
Well, that's great. I mean, that's the kind of stuff that people want to hear about. You got to have a hydro wave on your boat now, and why not? Why not? All right. So now I also saw online that you founded the University of North Alabama fishing team, and you earned your bachelor's degree in marketing. So you went to college to become a bass pro. Is that right?
Yeah. So back
or that was the hook that your parents used?
No, man, my parents were kind of, they opposed it, really. So I come from a military background. My parents were military, and that's how we ended up in Redstone Arsenal here in North Alabama. And when I was 12 or 13, or might have been 11, I saw my first FLW tournament on TV, and I was always ate up with fishing. And I told my mom I want to do that for a living, and she said, "No, you're going to get a real job." And she always laughed because I would keep saying it even up till college. But a second passion of mine was drumming and playing, the drums. So I actually got a percussion scholarship to the University of North Alabama.
Wow!
And so I started out as a music major, and for 2 years, and then I ran out of money to pay for school. So I had to kind of take a step back and reevaluate. All right, so I was having fun the first 2 years drumming, doing all the things, traveling. And I said, okay, where do I want my future to go? So at that moment, I enlisted in the Army, got my school paid for, and come up with a plan to go forward, which I think is the most crucial part, whether you're a bass fisherman or you want to go, build a business or work for a company, you got to get a plan to go forward. So that's what I did. And it just so happened that my neighbor, my parents' neighbor, that kid came from Mississippi. His name was Nick Cups, and he had a bass boat. And that summer, him and I met when I did this whole plan thing. He said, "Dude, you ever heard of college fishing? Blah, blah, blah." And he had the idea to start one at UNA, and it was just me and him coming up with the Constitution and writing all the bylaws. And then we got 2 more guys, so it became what was 2-man wolf pack became a 4-man wolf pack. It was Cody Braden and Sam Hickman. So the 4 of us really just put in a lot of work getting that team going in 2008. But to fast forward, that year when I enlisted in the military, I contracted with ROTC at the University of North Alabama, which kept me from deploying with the National Guard, and switched my major to marketing and went forward from there.
Well, I imagine that the marketing side of it probably helps a lot these days with what you're doing.
Yeah, so it's really interesting. Marketing is a subject that is constantly changing.
Yeah.
And basically all college is going to give you is a foundation of how the market works. You know, you really want to pay attention to economics with supply and demand. And then you also just want to understand, you're going to go through courses that's going to teach you how to survey people and find out people's wants and needs. And so it really gives you the basics of figuring out your customers' wants and needs and identifying target markets and demographics. So that's the most essential thing I think you can get out of your college. But after that, the marketing, and I'm sure you know because you're doing podcasts, all this stuff, the best way to market next year has probably not even out yet. So you always have to stay on top of it and be teaching yourself. And that's what I've done, you know, whether it's been my guide service or True Bass Swim Baits. I always try to stay on top of the next best thing. And you always want to look at where people's eyes are going, right? What app are they on the most? You know, are they watching TV or listening to radio? But go ahead.
Yeah. Or watching YouTube videos.
YouTube, big time.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Absolutely. Well, my point was more and more we're seeing tour pros coming out of this college system that really, I mean, I did a show like this back in the day on internet radio. And then I was out of this for a while. Who knew that what we were doing back then was a podcast? We didn't call it a podcast. It was internet radio, and we had regular station breaks and everything like that. But there was no college bass fishing back then. I think we stopped about 2007, and so what you started basically in 2008. It's turning out a lot of anglers these days. I mean, we are talking about the Lee brothers and God, I mean, I don't know which of the new young pros out there didn't come from the college system.
Yeah, if you're a pro, if you're you know my age or younger and you're fishing the pro circuit or the elite series or the opens, odds are you fished in college. I mean, I would say it would be 1% or less that did not. So. You know, a new pro being, let's say, you know, my 33 or younger.
Yeah. So,
you know, there's obviously older guys that are just getting into it, but that wasn't around for them. But it's such a great asset.
Well, no, that's just it. Everybody I interview today, for the most part, has this college background. And 15 years ago, when I was interviewing people, nobody went to college. They lived out of station wagons or whatever, you know, and it's just pretty. Do you think this college system really prepares people well for being professional anglers?
I think it really gets them a taste of the traveling to new lakes and breaking down a new body of water. It's like that intro. Of course, you're going to have your phenoms. You got your Jordan Lee, Matt Lee, Patrick Walters, even Hunter Freeman he came right out the gate, started fishing the pro circuit, and he kind of took a step back, and now he's doing the opens, trying to go to the elite route. But it's not instantaneous. So it really depends on your background and how long you actually fished before you got to college. Now, when I got to college, I had never fished a bass tournament when this is all starting. I started fishing tournaments that year in 2008. So I don't have that long of fishing tournaments, but my whole life I was on bassfishingresource.com combing every piece of information I could. Yeah. So even though I hadn't fished a lot of bass tournaments, I understood bass fishing. Yeah. And really that's what it comes down to. And I just, I haven't come out and just blazed the trails and won everything, but I'm just slowly, each year I'm trying to get a little better and just get that tournament experience, because I am behind a lot of guys in tournament experience. And, but the step one is just to recognize that. So there's probably a lot of guys like me out there that just started tournament fishing in college. And there's probably a lot of guys that started fishing before high school, that they were with their dad in their boat fishing club stuff. Mm-hmm. So you see a gambit of everything in between. And if I had a piece of advice for someone like me that just started fishing tournaments and they didn't really have that prior experience, start fishing as a co-angler in the BFLs and the Toyota Series, because it's going to give you so much different point of views from different anglers.
Yeah.
And it's relatively cheap to get in them, you know?
Mm-hmm. We'll switch gears again. Now, tell us about Alabama Bass Guide. Is that just you, or are there several guys working this? And which lakes do you guys work out of, or do you work out of?
So yeah, Alabama Bass Guide is essentially just me. However, over the last few years of me traveling, there's various guide services that I work with. You have Bassfiker Guide Service over on Pickwick and Guntersville. You have David Allen Fishing over on Pickwick. You have Philip Chris Guide Service on Guntersville. And those are essentially the guys that I will, if I'm not available, I will try to book you with those guys. And they will take great care of you. And so that's kind of the main two lakes that I got on is Guntersville and Pickwick. However, I do trips on Wheeler and Wilson. Wilson is probably the most slept on lake on the Tennessee River. They did a study, and for 8 hours of fishing on any given lake, you were more likely to catch a 5-pounder on Wilson Lake than any of them.
Oh, wow.
So, yep. So there's just a very high population of big fish on that pond.
And did I hear you correct? Did I hear you say that you got to go out on a client's boat? Do clients want you going out on their boats with them? Because that's kind of a nice deal not to have to take your own boat out there. Yes,
we'll go on clients' boats, mainly to set up electronics, or if it's a pre-tournament trip. However, it's kind of a double-edged sword. You know, when I'm in my boat, it's my office. I have everything I need. Right. And when I come out of pocket, so to speak, out of my boat and into their boat, I'm not as comfortable as I am in, you know, say my boat. But they understand that. You know, I try to bring as much as I can, and if we don't have everything we need that day, oh well. But I am willing to go on people's boats. Okay. Now, True Bass Swim Baits. This is another venture of yours. You guys make some very cool looking stuff. Whether it's the A-rigs and the baits to go on A-rigs. Yes, sir. How did you get involved in that? So when I was in the military, and before I deployed my first time, I was fishing with David Allen, and I had found, we had just really started getting into the big swim baits on the Tennessee River. And this was when Side Scan had just come out. And I found this 7.5-inch swim bait at Keller's tackle store in Guntersville. And I said, David, you got a head I could put this on? And he's like, no. And I found this 1-ounce head with like a little bitty hook, and I just super glued it. The hook was barely sticking out of the plastic, and I was catching 5-pounders on it. I mean, they were eating it so good. I could get them with that little hook. And when I came back from deployment, I tried finding those. And long story short, they went out of business. So I was like, I'm getting this swim bait because we whack them on it. And, you know, as a tournament angler, you always want a competitive advantage. So I started reaching out to a lot of different manufacturers and found a manufacturer to make it. And I'm pretty ignorant to the business side of things at this point. I'm like, okay, can I get like 50 of this color, 50 of that color, blah, blah, blah. They're like, no, your minimums are 500 a color. And I'm like, oh my gosh, what do I get into? So that's where the business, going through business school, I said, well, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to try and at least sell them in these tackle stores that I guide out of. And, you know, I can at least sell some, and I can have the baits I want. So I got all the baits, and the first time that I did it, I said, if I'm going to have a big one, I need a little one. So that's where the 4.5 was invented. This is the little head 4.5. And I had the 7.5 and the 4.5 to start. So I hand packaged everything, and I got the first shipment in, and I sold those things in like 2 weeks. So we might have something here. So that's how it started out of this house that I live in right now. And I would just have them shipped here. My whole house, dude, was filled with boxes in every room of swim baits by the end of it. And now I have a partner, and we have a warehouse, and it's steadily, we're more than doubling sales each year. So, but we're adding awesome new lines of products like Brent Anderson. I don't know if you've heard of Brent. Have you ever heard of him? He's probably in my database. I would say he is. He's won a lot of BFLs. I think I got about 8 Andersons on my list. So yeah, so he's also been in the All-American several times and finished runner-up. So this is an old one. You can see how dark that tail is, and one arm is broken off. But this is called a BA spinner that True Bass makes now. But Brent Anderson invented this, and he used to call it Freaky Five Fingers, and because it has 5 arms, it's a 5-arm spinner bait.
Yeah.
And what I love to do at True Bass is take these niche products, and because that's what I'm all about, like a customization that no one else has. So that's why I built my swim baits. There's really no other swim bait out there like it. It's got a different action. They're stupid durable. Everyone's like, you need to make them more durable. You'd sell more, or less durable. Because, I mean, you catch 30 fish on one swim bait. So now we got the BA spinner, and this one's not even on the website yet. This is called the Jelly Jig, also designed by Brent. It's basically the 5-arm spinner bait, just without the arm. It's a swim jig. It's an X-wing swim jig. That's what it is. And these are about to go up. This is a cool
Star Wars X-wing.
Yeah, we might need to change the name, the X-wing swim jig. But no, it's called the Jelly Jig. And when it's coming, dude, shad spawn, oh my God, I wish I could throw it on tour because I would wreck them. But we can't. It's too many arms. So
okay, I was gonna ask you if that works on tour or not, because I know that everybody got their feelings hurt about the A-rig, and that goes away. I mean, come on, guys, it's another lure.
It is another lure, but there is a lure that dominates. I mean, you'll have the whole field throwing it, you know. So, and there's times that, like, you know, in these winter tournaments, early spring, if you can throw it, everyone's going to be throwing it. And I feel like and this is a fun topic to go down. I feel like that's where Panoptics is heading. I feel, you know, just like NASCAR is regulated, at some point we have to have some kind of regulation, because
here's the thing about Panoptics is they put too much money into the sponsor side of the sport. That's not going away. I can't imagine any tournament organization letting that go away, because they put too much money back into the sport.
Sure. I mean, we're there, but I'm talking about the next thing after that. You know, whatever that is. I mean, that's probably too far. We should probably leave it here. You know, I don't know what that is. I mean, but dude, so I'll just full disclosure. I have Active Target. I love it. And my one bad finish this year, besides Pickwick, we'll just leave Pickwick in the dust. So on tour, it was a bad finish. I was, 2 ounces outside of the check at 80th.
Yeah.
I was using Active Target solely to catch spotted bass chasing herring.
Mm-hmm.
And in pre-practice, it was really dumb. I mean, I could catch 18 to 20 pounds of spots, and I was like, I got a chance to win this tournament. And it slowly got worse and worse and worse. And because I had put so much practice time into that, I had nothing to fall back on. So day 2, I found myself with one 15-inch spotted bass, and it's noon, and I have nothing, and I just start running around fishing. And I only come in with 2 fish that day, because I put all my eggs in the Active Target basket. So what did we learn? I unplugged that thing when I'm fishing these tournaments. You have to learn where you can compete. Right now, I can't compete with it at that level. Now, north smallmouth, 100%. I can compete, because if you see them, you can catch them. The problem is they're already getting used to being spotlighted. I mean, that's what I call, again, once you shine on them. Have you stood in front of one of those things when it's pinging? You can feel it. And by God, I guarantee you those fish can feel it. And even the longer they got pressured with it, the more they just start following it and not committing to it.
No, so, I haven't stood in front of that, but I know what you're talking about in terms of the clicking sound that your monitor makes when you're up there on the trolling motor, that the clicking sound of your electronics. If there is a physical pulse that goes with that, or a wave that you can feel, I get what you're saying right there.
So if I can feel that with my skin, imagine their lateral line, how much they can feel that. We're only going to be able to get away with it on these southern lakes for so long, just because they're so adaptable to getting targeted. I mean, they know how to evade us, man. They're very, very smart. And I heard, this is a nugget for your show. I was standing at top 10 meeting with Thrift. He said, you guys got 2 more years with that thing. They're already starting to run from it. And I had seen it too. You'll shine them and they'll run from it. If they're not in an actively feeding mood, it used to be, it didn't matter if they were active. If you could see them and throw something by their head, you probably get them to bite. But they're already kind of getting shy of getting pinged.
Randy Blockett's going to be glad to hear about that.
Yeah, it's just a natural order of things. I mean, the more, just like the A-Rig, it's not as good as it used to be.
Yeah.
Everything wanes, with its effectiveness the longer it goes on.
I think everybody watched Patrick Walters at Lake Fork, last fall, and just went, "Oh my God, this is what fishing is going to be now. We're all going to be like high school kids looking at our phones, only we're looking straight down at the, at the monitor, and that's the way fishing is going to be now." But man, what you're talking about that's profound. That is really profound.
Well, so,
I believe it.
Yeah, dude. I mean, you can compete doing whatever you want to do. And this year, other than Smith, I've competed by leaving off my electronics for the most part and just going fishing. So, inspired by John Cox.
Yeah. That is some really, really good stuff. What's the rest of the year look like for you? Obviously, you got a couple more opens and stuff, but how many more events have you got this year?
Let's see. Well, I have Lake Eufaula, and then I have, what is the next one? Potomac, and then we're going to St. Lawrence. That's the pro circuit side. So, but I'm going straight to Eufaula. The following week is the next Toyota Series on Chickamauga. So I got back-to-back tournaments again. So I'll go Eufaula, Chickamauga, and those tournaments we're looking, starting to be postponed for the most part. Mm-hmm. So, and I think both of those lakes have Florida strain bass, which they'll stay shallow regardless. You'll have fish that go out, but there'll always be fish shallow on those lakes. Yeah.
Well, listen, Ryan, it's been a real pleasure. First of all, getting to meet you today in this short amount of time. This is really, really, you're a great interview. I guarantee we'll be back in touch with you because you bring the juice, as they say. And good luck to you. And keep on that Bass 2 Anglers Angler of the Year thing. We don't have anything yet except for a really nice trophy, but one of these days we're gonna be able to bring something really nice to the guy that wins this award.
Man, that would be awesome. And I'll definitely share it on my platforms for you.
I appreciate that. I'll send you the links when we get this posted.
All right. Thanks, guys.
All right. Take care. Good night.
You too.
Well, folks, as we do every week at this time, let's take a look at the Bass Tour Anglers Podcast Angler of the Year standings. And wow, did things tighten up this week. Dakota Iber still leads with 403 points, but Patrick Walters, with a modest finish at the Central Open this week at Pickwick, pulls way up. Patrick Walters now has 399 points. He's only 4 points off the lead. And we still have a lot of the year to go. I know both Iber and Walters have a lot of events coming up. It is going to be a lot of fun to watch this. This week, David Williams pulls up into third place. He has 361 points. Jimmy Washington stays Ryan Salzman moves into fourth place this week with 311 points. Jimmy Washington also has 311 points, but Ryan Salzman has caught one more fish this year. So Salzman in fourth, Washam in fifth. Cody Huff, who leads the Major League Fishing Pro Circuit Angler of the Year race, is in sixth place with 287 points. Jacob Fouts is in seventh with 286. Andy Rybar pulls into eighth with 280 points. Jacob Walker is now in ninth place with 278 points. Todd Castledine pulls back into the top 10 with 277 points. Folks, for those of you that don't know about the Bass Tour Anglers Podcast Angler of the Year race, we are trying to determine the definitive Angler of the Year. There are several organizations out there that are all going to have an Angler of the Year. We can't have multiple world champions because we only have one world. We only got one planet. So Bass Tour Anglers Podcast is looking at all these events this year. We're following 63 events, 3,500 different anglers, charting their progress, keeping track of all this, and it's all there for everybody to take a look at. Please go to our website, basstouranglers.com, and you can see all the information there. We have our top 10 on the front page. We have our listing of all the anglers, 1 through 3,500 listed that are linked to our website. We've also got our scoring criteria. Everybody wants to know how we're doing this scoring. Is it fair and so on? It is fair, but we love to hear your comments on it. You can also get that information by going to our website, basstouranglers.com, and you check all that stuff out. You can also see our schedule. We are about 25% of the way. No, we are about a third of the way through the season. We have covered a lot of events so far. We've got about 2/3 of the season left to go, and it's going to be very, very exciting. Again, the website is bass2anglers.com. Check it out. Leave us a comment. Tell us what you like. Tell us what you don't like. And we're just having a lot of fun with this. Taking a look at the schedule that is coming up, we've got 4 big events this next week. First of all, we've got a Major League Fishing Bass Pro Tour Stage 2, which is underway as we speak at Lake Travis down in Austin, Texas. They're in their preliminary rounds right now, but by next week we will have a winner, and we will have that information for you for sure. We've got a BASS Elite Series event this week at Neely Henry in Gadsden, Alabama. We've got a Major League Fishing Big 5 Toyota Series Plains Division event at Lake Dardanelle in Arkansas. And we've got a Major League Fishing Big 5 Toyota Series Southern event taking place at Lake Seminole near Tampa in Florida. Well, folks, that's going to do it for us this week. Another action-packed episode of Tour Talk. Please leave a comment, subscribe to our YouTube channel. Let us know what you think about this. We're committed to doing more of it, and we want to hear what you have to say. Until next week, keep those live vests zipped and clipped, and we will talk to you again next time.